Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
All right, so back when stand-up comedy specials were special, not like today where anyone that has a mic can claim they are a comedian, there were several names in those days that I just never thought were funny. Joe Coy, Chelsea Handler, and Russell Peters. I guess you can say I just never got it. But as far as numbers are concerned, Russell Peters is a big comic. And yet, he's never made me laugh. He's been in films, he's played huge arenas, and I still just don't get it. I get why people would pay to see Rogan do stand-up in a large venue, even if the entire show he isn't funny, but Russell Peters? I don't even think Joe Rogan counts him as one of the 250 remaining comedians. And Joe will gobble the knob of anyone with a little bit of relevance. Anyways, who was watching this guy? Who made Russell Peters rich? I mean, he's from Canada, and if you think about the greats from the Great White North, Tom Green, Mike Myers, Harlan Williams, and Jim Carrey, the name Russell Peters never comes up. I guess that is until some random YouTube roast battle show needs a guest judge. Either way, nobody I know mentions Russell Peters as a top comic. Most actual comedians don't mention Russell Peters, and yet he's rich and famous, but why? I'm actually using Russell Peters as the foundation of this video, but as a whole, this current state of comedy has been heading this direction for years, and by direction, I mean downhill, and Russell Peters is a great example. Similar to Jeff Ross, it's kind of like, did you just simply take somebody else's spot and we're supposed to just be cool with it? Because Jeff Ross is funny looking, but he isn't funny. Just like your precious princess Tony Hinchcliffe, he looks funny, but he isn't funny. Because I think we can all agree, if Greg Giraldo was alive, Jeff Ross wouldn't even be relevant. Because honestly, Jeff Ross is not funny enough to be a master of anything, but he is as general as it gets. There are people in my YouTube comments that are funnier than Jeff Ross and Russell Peters combined. Now, I tend to put a lot of value in how comedians feel about other comedians, at least as far as how funny they are is concerned. For instance, if Joe List thinks a guy is funny, I'm probably going to check him out. Joe List has a great ear for comedy. Joe Rogan does not. And Joe List hasn't ever mentioned Russell Peters. That's because nobody does. He's down in the gutter grasping onto the minimal fame that he once had, while doing shows with guys like Brian Moses and Pat Barker. So again, I ask, how did Russell Peters get famous? I get that comedy is subjective, but I also think it's pretty obvious to any normal person when somebody has no talent. But then again, Brendan Schaub sold tickets to his shows, and they cast that weird girl as Snow White, so maybe I'm wrong. Although I can understand why you'd want to see Schaub live, I just can't understand why Russell Peters is even relevant. And that's honestly probably why this video will get no views, because nobody cares about Russell. Then again, I'm just using him as the core to the point that comedians have been fooling us for decades. It didn't just start with Tony Hinchcliffe or Joe Rogan. Anyways, Russell has been famous since MySpace, and yet he wasn't funny on any of his specials, nor any of the TV shows or podcast appearances that he's made. Honestly, he kind of comes across just like Tony or Rogan, just another dude that thinks he was owed fame. And like all these comedians in the Rogan sphere, I think it's all because most of you know deep down you shouldn't be famous. You shouldn't be rich, you have no talent, you have zero dignity, and at this point, none of you should be allowed to even call yourselves a professional comedian. At best, you're an influencer. In conclusion, this era of comedy has to be one of the worst. Unless you're one of these awful comedians. Then of course, you think it's booming. But when you see streamers like Kai Cenat or Sketch have 10 times more engagement than any stand-up comic on any platform, or people like Drewski out here doing Super Bowl commercials, Tony's self-dick writing for a low-tier appearance on Netflix, that's honestly real comedy. That's funnier than anything any of you have ever said your entire life. Guys, these people aren't talented or special. They're just the most self-centered, self-absorbed morons shilling as people with talent and values. It's only a matter of time before Mr. Beast is hosting Kill Tony. You're just replacing one talentless alien man for another talentless alien man. And who cares at this point? You all will just follow along like the good little sheep you are. Do what they tell you, like what they tell you to like, and never think for yourself. Never buck the system. Hey, he's rich and famous, so it must be good. There's no way he could have blown his way to the top. Idiots. But, until the next one.